Well,
That was
I
very
guess
short and exciting.
it was very exciting, and I guess I thought I was going to do the show alone.
I thought I better stop taking the weekend off. I'm going to have to be totally retrained here. Michael Bryant here with Justice Serve TV. We have a very special segment for you,
Yeah,
Linda.
Linda Kenny Bodden here. Extremely special segment with very special lawyers, very special people. But that's the only kind of people who come on because we try to give you the best. And if we can't give you the best, we don't give it to you at all.
All right, then. Well, let's just do it. A little retrial beginning this week. Tell us what's happening.
All right, the retrial is going to be of Harvey Weinstein. If you want to put Harvey Weinstein, people say the most hated man in the world. He shouldn't be. Brian Koberger should be the most hated person in the world right now, I think.
But everybody deserves a defense.
And everyone deserves a defense. And not only that, he had a terrible prosecution. Whatever you think of Harvey Weinstein, justice has to be fair, okay? The first prosecution, I mean, the stuff that was let in, even the jurors, some of the stuff that the appellate court, by the way, you all know that his conviction in New York was reversed because in New York, we believe in fairness in the justice system, okay?
And so the bottom line was they had too many allegedly prior bad act behavior issues that were allowed in with other alleged victims testifying against him, and ultimately the appellate court said that's just inappropriate.
Yeah. So, not only that, I just want to go to say, as everyone knows, I had a brief period of time that I was hired by Jose Baez and Ron Sullivan when they represented Harvey, and I had a lot of interactions with Harvey Weinstein. And as a matter of fact, in our next guest, the last time I saw him actually in person was when he was coming through to represent Harvey Weinstein. And watching it from afar, I were a law and crime there. The fact that whether the New York courts, and we call our Supreme Court, like Massachusetts, something different, but it's our Supreme Court. If you think about it, it's a top court. When I was listening to, and they didn't deal with this issue the way I would have thought, a juror who had written a book that sort of or read a book about Harvey Weinstein, that kind of thing, it really wasn't him, but it was him. It was about the Me Too, the whole Me Too movement outside. You think, what would Judge Bev, and Judge Bev can only have to do with it?
She would buffer zone herself to death. Yes.
Buffer zone, press conference. The coming in, the walkthrough in, the commentary. All right. You can think what you want, but that should not have happened. So our next guests are going to talk about it.
Let's get on. I've forgotten who they are. It's been such a long introduction. There they are.
I wanted to talk about how great they are. And also, not only how great they are, they're our friends, and also how they're going to do a great job. No matter what you think of the justice system, that everyone deserves a great defense. And it may turn out differently this time.
That's right.
Authur Aidala and Imran Ansari, the best.
Well, I want to start off by apologizing for the shine off the top of my head. But I know. Put on your glasses. Thank you.
I was going to put my sunglasses. Thank you.
Okay. I am at my desk where Imran and I have been working. Imran, we were here yesterday. Jury selection starts tomorrow. It'll be a long process to weed out people because, as you said, Linda, there's a lot of people who are going to know a lot about this case. And, you can't have people coming in who really already have their minds made up because they read a book or they saw a documentary or anything like that. So we're going, the first hurdle we're dealing with right now is jury selection. But what Imran's dealing with actually is probably a little more important. It's with Harvey's health. Imran, why don't you tell him what's going on with Harvey and his suffering?
Sure. So Harvey Weinstein right now is not in the best state of health, and that's an understatement. He's suffering from cancer and just a slew of maladies, and his time at Rikers Island has not been kind on him. And of course, Rikers Island, as we know, is a tough place to be for anyone. But in his condition, it's just seen him really plummet in the state of health because he's not getting the sort of medical treatment and humane treatment that he needs. Not just Harvey Weinstein, but anyone, but particular with him. They're missing medication. They're not giving him the treatment that he requires. They're misdiagnosing an infection and treating him the wrong way. And it's led to a real frustration in many ways with the defense because, when he should be concentrating wholeheartedly, and he is, on his defense and working with his attorneys, he's got this other issue, these big medical issues to deal with. And what we're trying to do now, it seems like a reasonable request, is have him housed rather than Rikers Island, but at Bellevue Hospital, which is, a few blocks up from 100 Center Street in comparison to Rikers Island, and he's getting the medical treatment that he needs there, or at least it's a better equipped facility for that medical treatment that he should be getting, and it allows him to just participate in his defense all the more effectively during the course of the trial.
And
it would seem to me the
both
court
of you
would
know
want
how
that,
important
right? It would seem to me
the court does want it, except the court is being told the judge is being told he's not in charge, and that's what Imran is fighting for. The judge is saying, "Look, I'm ordering him to stay at Bellevue," and Department of Corrections and Health and Human Services are saying, "No. We're in charge, Judge, not you, about over his body when he's in our custody, and we think he should stay in Rikers." And when you have a client who is as intelligent as Harvey Weinstein is, and this is a he said she said case, right? And he's the he said part. Like, we need his help. This isn't a case where there's a Ring doorbell that sees someone committing a robbery and the lighting is bad and we're cross-examining an eyewitness about something. This is a case where a defendant is very heavily involved, and the fact that he's diminished in any way is obviously a tremendous detriment to our defense.
Well, let me just say one thing, because I'm one of the few hosts that probably have dealt with Harvey Weinstein, a member of the opposite sex. All right. And I had to interview some of the victims on Law and Crime who claimed they were assaulted by him. And I feel tremendously for anybody who claims an assault. But when Harvey dealt with me, he was nothing but an absolute gentleman. I have to tell you that. And you can say I'm going to get attacked by the trolls and the bots, but I had a number of dealings with him, and he really treated me with great respect. I never came to represent him personally, but the respect that he treated me with was bar none. I mean, so I will say that. So having said that, what's different in this trial? Is there a different judge? Are there different charges? Are there different alleged victims? What's different?
Well, it's definitely a different judge, and that's a big deal. It's a huge deal. I was really fortunate to argue the case in the Court of Appeals, which was probably the highlight of my career, just being up there. And that is the highest court, as you were referring to. It's our version of the Supreme Court in the state of New York, 7 judges. I mean, they were very, very active. I mean, I think we were supposed to argue 10 minutes each side, and I think it wound up being almost a half an hour for each side. And they basically concluded that Harvey didn't get a fair trial on a number of counts, but the primary one was the judge just let in too much evidence that basically just showed Harvey was a bad guy. Didn't show anything about the crimes, but just that, he's a bad dude and you should convict him. The difference now, and I'll defer to Imran, is how the Me Too movement is not front and center at this case, and hopefully the evidence will be. Imran, why don't you tell them about how the aura around this trial is different from 5.5 years ago?
Sure. 2020, when the first trial occurred, I mean, the Me Too movement was in full swing. And, we know, like, when we were on Law and Crime, that was a topic that we covered a lot. And then now here we are in 2025, and it's not to say that movement doesn't have momentum still, and there's people still making claims. And, with any movement, you have the good and the bad, right? And with the Me Too movement, I feel that although people were empowered, women were empowered to speak out, you also had a lot of people come out with false accusations, or they see an opportunity to gain notoriety or fame or monetary compensation, say in a civil lawsuit, right? So there was the good and the bad. And, over time, I think some people, the public, perceive that there may be some issues with the movement, or the rush to judgment and the trying someone in the court of public opinion versus the court of law. And we saw with the Johnny Depp trial that we covered, on Law and Crime pretty extensively, that maybe some of the feelings were changing in terms of a he said, she said situation, and automatically believing all women without giving due process or hearing another side of the story. So perhaps now in this climate, when we're going in for jury selection, there's going to be a different perspective in that jury pool than, say, the height of the Me Too movement in 2020.
And just think about how the world has changed. When we started picking that jury in January of 2020, I'm going to make you laugh. When you heard the word Corona, you thought about a beer. At the day of Harvey's sentencing on March 11th, 2 days later, the world shut down. The world shut down.
Yeah,
The St. Patrick's Day parade was canceled. The NBA season was put on hiatus. It was the most, Me Too was the most important thing. Then you have an international pandemic. You have George Floyd come down the pipe. More recently, you have the horrors of October the 7th. You have a mayor of this city getting indicted. You have migrants running all over the place. You got crime running through the roof, et cetera, et cetera. Like all of a sudden, the Me Too movement, yeah, it was something, but was it what we made it? We had the luxury of focusing on the Me Too movement because there were people in Times Square and Grand Central screaming, kill the Jews, the way they are when I sit here and in disgust and listening to that now. So God willing, those jurors are going to go in here, not with protesters in front of 100 Center Street, the courthouse, fry Harvey, kill Harvey, Harvey's a rapist, and not to have them chanting through the windows while we're putting out evidence, Harvey's guilty, Harvey's guilty. God willing, he'll have a much more reasonable jury pool because, look, everyone's heard of this case. Everyone has, in some form or another, knows who Harvey Weinstein is. So we're starting off with, 2.5 strikes against us because of the preconceived notions. But we're going to fight as hard as we can to get past those preconceived notions, cross-examine the heck out of these accusers, and hopefully the jury sees it for what it is, that these were consensual relationships that somewhere down the line in these women's minds turned into something else.
You're certainly going to find when you go through the voir dire process how those attitudes have or haven't changed, right? I mean, that's going to be something you're working on needling your way through. Let's talk about alleged victims. There were 2 in the first trial. There's Mimi Halle and Jane Doe, who we now know as Jessica Mann. Wasn't there another follow-up accusation? I don't know if they were added officially as a alleged victim.
No, they were. So
what's the status on that?
In the first trial, there were 3 victims, and one of them is the only actress, Annabella Sciorra. He was fully acquitted of that. That was the top count, 2 counts against her. Not guilty, not guilty. With Jessica Mann, whose name you mentioned at the first trial, also the top count, not guilty. There's a lower count that remains there. There's 1 witness from the first trial. And then, yes, there is a new witness who we just call complaining witness number 3, who will be coming, she'll be an accuser as well.
And how do you see that changing the dynamic, if at all?
It's a different set of prosecutors. It's a different judge. It's a different team. On that team, Imran and myself and the others from our office, we were basically brought in as local counsel for the main attorneys from Chicago, who, by the way, got of 5 counts, achieved 3 not guilty verdicts on the 3 most serious counts. So they deserve a lot of credit. I'm not minimizing that in any way, shape, or form. But it's a different, it's not only a different dynamic in the jury pool, it's not only a different dynamic in the world, but on the bench is a tremendous difference with Judge Farber as opposed to the former judge. And it's a brand new prosecution team. So we're all going to be, it'll be a different mix. And let's face it, some of the mustard is off the hot dog, so to speak. People have Harvey fatigue. They heard about this case. They heard about it for 2 years almost before the case went to trial. This California stuff. And to be honest, the P. Diddy case is going to start like a week and a half after we start. So the media will go down the street. And maybe that'll take even more pressure off of the jurors. And, our position is once they evaluate the witnesses here, they will determine that the people did not prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt and reach a verdict of not guilty.
Well, I tell you, I talked to somebody this morning who said, look, I was afraid because of the woke movement to say that I believed Harvey Weinstein, but now I'll say it. So it was an interesting conversation we had with this person. I didn't expect to say that. I won't give you a name. The big question, I guess, well, I have 2 big questions. One, does Harvey still remember me? Okay, that's the first one. That's the biggest one.
Who can forget you, Lisa?
The second is he going to take the stand?
Imran, what do you think? Is he going to take the stand? I mean, you're going to make that ultimate decision. As you know, you don't know. I mean, he'll be able to. This we can tell you. Between Imran and Diana Fabi Sampson of my team, whether they like it or not, they're going to be spending some time visiting Mr. Weinstein on the weekends, preparing his direct testimony, so that if, as you guys know, Like, you don't just throw someone up on the stand, right? You have to prepare them. This is what it's going to, these are the questions, and let's talk about how you answer them, meaning, you don't go on and on and on. You have to listen to the question. You have to absorb what the question is and then just answer the question, especially regarding cross-examination. So Imran and Diana will be preparing him to testify, especially regarding cross-examination. And I'll tell you guys what I told him. I said, Harvey, you've been on the biggest stages on the planet Earth, right? You've been in the Oval Office and sat with the President of the United States. You've been on the stage of the Oscars more than once, where 1 billion with a B people are watching you. I said, this is going to be the scariest moment in your life. I said, if I were you, I'd bring a diaper. Because, those 12 people, or actually it'll be 18 with the alternates and the judge and the court officers and the American flag, and obviously the media, it's a daunting environment. So we'll make that decision based on after seeing the evidence come out and how we feel and how he feels. Look, it's his life. And if he chooses, say, look, Arthur, I want to tell my story. And I mean, Linda, as you know very well, like there are very few decisions that the defendant actually makes, right? To accept a plea, to not accept a plea, to testify, to not testify. So, he'll accept our guidance and then he'll do whatever he wants. I mean, all kidding aside, he usually follows Imran's instructions because Imran has earned his trust over the years of representing him. So we'll see how it plays out.
So in the mock preparation, who's going to play the prosecutor?
I'll probably have Imran play the prosecutor. He's nasty. He can really be, when Imran does these civil depositions, I hear him, he yells and screams. He's throwing mugs around.
Oh, I can see that. Oh, yeah.
No, he's a man. I'm a big, catch more bees with honey than vinegar. He goes right for the vinegar. Boom. Throws it right in their eyeballs, blinds them.
Hey, so let me ask as a follow-up to that, Arthur. Now, despite your realistic advice to Mr. Weinstein about what he would expect if he does testify, do you think he wants to testify?
Yes, I know he wants to. That's easy. I know he wants to. Yeah, he's always wanted to. He's like, I never made anyone do anything. I never pushed anyone. I never forced anyone. I mean, he's been very, 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 very consistent about it.
Great. Well, we're going to be following it. I mean, we may be one of the only people following it because of our, I'll say, past relationship with Mr. Weinstein. As again, I will say, and I'm going to get daggers for this, Harvey, if you're watching, and Imran and Arthur, that I will get a lot of daggers saying that he only treated me with great respect and great aplomb and great worry. And I was never worried about being alone with him. That's not to say that I'm not discounting any statements by anybody else. Everyone is going to tell their own story. But my story in dealing with Harvey Weinstein was only one of a good one.
So we're going to
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch.
I'll pop in down there over the course of the trial just to make sure you guys are on top of things.
And we'll expect a statement from here when he testifies. We want to say to Justice Serve TV, right. not as a payback, only because we're going to be there.
I understand. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thanks, you guys.
Right. Take care. Guys. Good luck.
Riding flames, they charge with mine.